He's not saying most immigrants are criminals, but he's saying some of them are and some of them are. And he's pointing to victims of their criminality and saying no American should have to experience that. And he ran on that and he won. So he's not doing anything that the American people, through their political institutions, haven't endorsed. What do you say to that? What did the Latinos in Texas who voted for Trump want? You think they wanted more unauthorized entry into the country of people who were not legal, who could go to the appropriate border crossing place and submit themselves to the process of vetting for an asylum claim, but who instead chose to cross the Rio Grande at a convenient place and come into the country illegally? Anti-Latino, I mean, the idea that you would ask people, you want to come into our country, you do it by the processes that we have established for that purpose. And if you don't, you're breaking our laws and we're going to deal with you by deporting you from our country. I don't see what's wrong with that at all. I mean, in fact, I'm not sure you're serious about enforcing your immigration laws if you don't deport people who break them. So if I get here, I'm here for good, and deporting me is an anti-Latino move. That's a posture that invites all the world to come into the country without authorization. So you're either serious about enforcing the immigration laws or you're not. You break the laws, there are consequences. And among those consequences are deportation if you don't have legal authorization to be in the country in the first place. Full stop. What's wrong with that?
Of course, what you just said would get you kicked out of most faculty lounges. I don't hear it that way. I know what you mean. Why couldn't they have just waited their turn? Why do they have to, be dragged across a river and come in and hide from the cops and live in abject poverty? And what happens if their kids get sick? How come they couldn't just come through?
And what has their being Latino got to do with anything?
I get that. And then the question, though, is, why did they come illegally? Why did they do that? Is it because they're scamps? Is it because they're criminals? Or is it because they were so desperate that they didn't want to wait the 2 years that it would have taken to do it in the legal manner? And so maybe we need to change our immigration procedures so that people who are desperate, I mean, imagine you probably have kids and you can't make a living, or there are people who want to kill you because you're on the wrong side of something in between those two things. You're desperate. And you're supposed to wait at the border for 2 years while people take care of your papers. I get why people would do it illegally. There must be a reason, in other words. It's not that these people are all unreasonable and naughty. And so apparently there's a reason why you would do that. And so the solution is therefore, well, you didn't do it legally, and so we're just going to put you back there where you can't make a living, where you might starve, where you might be killed. Not to mention, of course, the temptation of the wealth here. And most of these people, from what I see, from what I hear, the idea is to give their children a better life that they never had, and they're only going to get so far. Do they deserve to be sent home? I'm not sure I understand why that's so urgent. Is our social system about to break? Why that? Why not fix things here? Why not do things that we need done here? Kind of like back in the day, I remember being a kid and listening to some people, including my mother, saying, why are they spending all that money getting us to the moon? What's all this astronaut stuff when people are dying in the ghettos, as people used to say? There was something to that. Why do we have to do that? I was always a little perplexed by it myself. Astronaut, we're here on the moon. So what about fixing Detroit? Well, same thing here. Why get rid of all these people? Go ahead.
Remember the Last Poets? I think it's the Last Poets. It might be Gil Scott-Heron. Rat done bit my sister Nell, and Whitey's on the moon. Her arms and legs begin to swell, and Whitey's on the moon. And it goes on in that vein.
I never knew that. That. And so now it's Pedro's got to go. And in the meantime, the climate is going to hell slow.
What do you say? What do you say to the observation that this is exactly what Donald J. Trump ran on in running for president? He didn't make any secret out of his desire to reverse the lax immigration policies of the Biden administration. He wants to build a wall. They were trying to sell off parts of the wall, et cetera, et cetera. He's not saying most immigrants are criminals, but he's saying some of them are and some of them are. And he's pointing to victims of their criminality and saying no American should have to experience that. And he ran on that and he won. So he's not doing anything that the American people, through their political institutions, haven't endorsed. What do you say to that?
Well, frankly, there are many Latinos I know who came the legal way. And the way they feel about this is, yeah, the ones who came in illegally, we don't like that either. How come they can't do what we did? And I'm not sure how informed that is in terms of figuring out the difference between somebody whose parents came here from Mexican parents came here legally several decades ago versus somebody who's trying to escape oblivion in Honduras today. There are differences, but still, I understand that part. And yes, Trump did run on this. And many Latinos thought, well, he doesn't mean me, which is reasonable. But still, I would say that the person who ran on that shouldn't have won. Because, now this is an important nuance.
But he
didn't
did
say
win.
that all Mexicans are rapists. He didn't say that. He said they send us their rapists and there's something else, I think criminals. So there are rapists and criminals among them, and they send them to us. That implies that the ones that we see here, there's something wrong with the ones that we see here. He ran on that, although that particular statement was a long time ago, but I don't think he would disavow it now. And no, the person who said that shouldn't have won, in my view, because the person should have won who had other priorities in mind rather than playing upon the xenophobia that is natural to us as human beings and playing upon it because he clearly feels it himself and is of the opinion that he should not be shut up about it. We shouldn't be ashamed of it. Now, he's not going to put it that way, partly because he wouldn't be capable of the objectivity of looking at it that way and putting words together. But that's what this is. No?
Yeah.